I based my reflections on my following convictions. No peace among the nations without peace among the religions, and no peace among the religions without dialogue between the religions, and no dialogue between the religions without some global ethical standards. Therefore, no survival of our globe without a global ethic, supported by both religious and non-religious people. The decisive step was taken by the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago in an interreligious gathering in Chicago in 1993 with more than 5,000 participants. At it, more than 200 delegates from every religion and continent signed a declaration toward a global ethic, which I drafted in the process of interreligious consultation. Since then, this has become the fundamental document for the development of the idea of a global ethic. It is important in our times of disorientation and vacuum of meaning, values and standards to indicate quite clearly some basic human imperatives. According to the Declaration toward the Global Ethic of the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago 1993, especially 4 ethical imperatives of humanity can be identified, which are basically based on these 4 great experiences of humanity, as I explained it in my introduction. First, there is so much violence in our societies all over the world. In your beautiful country Mexico, but also in other countries of South America, one can experience violence every day. Even in schools in many countries, there is an increase of violence. Even murder of children and school teachers by children occurs. A lot of children suffer under violence. It is therefore of greatest importance that even school children in kindergarten and elementary school learn already not to murder, not to torture, not to torment, not to wound, but to have reverence for life. Reverence for life in order to build a culture of non-violence and reverence for life. Second, because of the new possibilities to make money, the new possibilities of the globalized financial markets and the globalization of economy, technology and communication, there are much more opportunities for crimes in business and finance. People everywhere discuss the enormous scandals in Wall Street and the greed of top managers who earn exorbitant salaries and are all too often involved in falsifying the balances of the company. It is therefore important that everybody commits himself or herself to the old ethical guideline not to steal. Not to steal means also not to exploit, not to bribe, not to corrupt, but to deal honestly and fairly in order to build up a culture of fairness and a more just economic order. Third, because of the new possibilities of communication for spreading propaganda worldwide, also in the world of politics, more and more lying occurs, which has very often most harmful consequences for the different nations and even for the whole world. The most striking example is certainly the Iraq War, which was built on the lie of weapons of mass destruction, whereas in fact was aimed at establishing hegemony over the production in the over the oil production in the Middle East and basically over the whole world. Therefore, everybody should understand today why one should not lie, should not deceive, should not forge, should not manipulate, but everybody should speak and act truthfully in order to contribute slowly to a culture of truthfulness and tolerance. And fourth, even young girls today suffer from the discrimination of women, which shows a different face in different parts of the world and in different cultures. In a number of countries, it is even difficult for girls to have access to school education. In others, they are often treated in an unfair way compared to boys, and are even sexually abused and forced into child prostitution. It is therefore important already for our children and youngsters to learn not to abuse sexuality. That means not to cheat, humiliate, and dishonor, but to respect and love one another in order to contribute to a culture of partnership and equal dignity of men and women. You see, these four irrevocable directives, which are developed, as we heard, in 10,000 of years in the history of humanity, you can find today in the Hebrew Bible, in the New Testament, and in the Quran, but also in the religions and philosophies of Indian, Chinese, and Japanese origin, and humanist philosophies not rooted in any religion. These imperatives of humanity are ultimately based on two fundamental principles: the principle of humanity and the principle of reciprocity. The principle of humanity means every human being must be treated in a truly human way, in a humane way. More concretely, every human being, young or old, white or colored, rich or poor, man or woman, must be treated humanely and not inhumanely, even bestially. The principle of humanity. The second principle of reciprocity, mutuality, is expressed in the famous Golden Rule, which can be found already in the Analects of Confucius, 5 centuries before Jesus Christ, but also in all other traditions of the world. What you do not wish done to yourself, do not do to others.